Now, I did originally say that I was going to make a review for each episode of The Last of Us. However, I ended up getting sick and a few other things came up. Next thing you know, I'm behind by like 3-4 episodes and I haven't watched any of them. And that just kind of came and went. So now I'm going to just do a full review of the season from where I left off, which would have been episode 4. I will say overall, I was really impressed with most of the season. I did find, though, that once they got to Kansas City in the story, which was episode 4, the episodes stopped feeling like they were these big events. The 2 episodes in Kansas City, while I understand they are important for the overall story and they do occur in the game, it really didn't feel like they were important. It felt sort of like filler episodes. In the game, they're in Pittsburgh. In the show, they're in Kansas City. They still, get ambushed like in the game, and they still meet Henry and Sam. But there were also a few things that I didn't like. The woman who runs the hunters, or whatever you want to call them, in Kansas City, it's weird. When I first started the first episode of that arc, I didn't really buy it that she would be capable of like running this group. She had a weird essence to her. The actress was fine. It's just the way the role was played didn't really make sense to me. She's like this very like quiet, calm, soft-spoken woman, and I didn't really get it. My only theory is this is a spoiler if you have not played The Last of Us Part 2. Abby is obviously the antagonist in the game, and she's a very aggressive, brutal female character, right? As a villain. So maybe the writers felt like having a female antagonist in the first season who is like super brutal and super like physically very intimidating in some way would have felt too much like a copy of Abby, which we're going to see next season anyway. So they casted the character to have like a completely different perspective. That being said, the ending with Henry killing Sam and then having to kill himself, still executed very, very well, and an incredible scene. So props to them. Ends in a very brutal note. And then they ended up going to Wyoming, which, believe it or not, they filmed Jacksonville, Wyoming, and Canmore, Alberta, which I've been to because I have family there. And when they were on the set, I actually said to myself, watching the show, I said, that looks like Canmore. And it was. I did the Googling, and that's when I knew, like, oh my God, yeah, I'm not crazy. They shot this in Canmore. So I actually recognized the city or the town because it's so freaking small when I was watching the show, which was really, really neat from a personal perspective. I also did notice areas of Kansas City being Edmonton, because that area of Edmonton, I've been down there. I went to university in that area. So I recognized some parts there too, which I thought was like really, really cool. I was like, I've been down that road. I know exactly where they are right now. But once again, the parts in Wyoming still felt much, much slower. The pace starts to slowly kind of go down as the season progresses. And I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world, but you do get this feeling like, okay, they seem to be doing a bit more world building. Ellie's finding out more about Sarah. There is an interesting wrinkle that they add to the character of Joel in these episodes, and I feel like they're doing it on purpose to once again build towards season 2. In this episode where they're in Jackson, Wyoming, Joel ends up sitting down with Tommy, and the way he explains why he needs Tommy to take Ellie and go find the Fireflies in Salt Lake City is because he's starting to like go soft. He actually admits it. He's like, I'm getting panic attacks. I'm scared I'm going to get her killed. And you can kind of see like that hardened version of Joel that's been around for 20 years is like starting to break, and it's starting to fade away a bit because he's starting to actually care about Ellie, and he's actually starting to worry about her well-being, and he feels like he's going to get her killed, and he doesn't want that to happen. You actually have scenes where he's having these panic attacks, which I thought was actually really good character development. They do have a whole episode dedicated to the Left Behind DLC with Ellie and her friend Riley. I thought the episode was totally fine. Didn't really break any new ground for me. I feel like obviously if you're a first-time viewer of The Last of Us, you have absolutely no attachment to the game, like my parents who are currently watching it. It may hit more at home. It may help you a bit more. I think that maybe if I had not known anything about the game, maybe I would have cared more about this episode, but this is another kind of filler episode in my opinion. And there's only 9 episodes. Out of these 9 episodes, that officially means 2 of those episodes are flashbacks. Episode 3 was Bill and his whole life. And now you've got episode 7 with Riley and Ellie for their flashback in the mall. They actually do play Mortal Kombat 2. I know that in the game it's like this knockoff version, but they actually got the licensing for Mortal Kombat 2 to actually show up in the show. In the video game, they go to the arcade, but they can't turn it on. So she like simulates playing it. But in this episode, they actually get the power on for an arcade, and they're actually able to play Mortal Kombat 2, which I thought was kind of neat. Troy Baker shows up in episode 8 as James, who's a character in the video game. I love this. They fleshed out his character a bit more. He's a character who, they changed David as well. So in the games, I think David's just like the leader of this group, and that's about it. In the show, he's the pastor of this group of people. He's like their leader, and he preaches and he talks about the Bible. He's very, very creepy. The actor who they had casted to play him, fantastic. They still have the cannibalism arc like they do in the game, and they also pull off the interrogation scene perfectly. I don't think they could have made that scene any better if they tried. And it's one of those scenes in the game that really shows the brutality of Joel and how much he actually does care about Ellie now. And they did it. They did it perfectly. They even had Ellie go up against David in a very similar way as they do in the game. So they're still in the dining area. Troy Baker's the one, his version of James is the one that gets killed with a meat cleaver to the neck. But they make it a little bit quicker. It's still the same thing. They also like very, very, very distinctly show that David is a you-know-what. I don't know if I'm like to say that on YouTube, but the way Bella Ramsey plays the part when she has to kill David, immaculate. Episode 8 is where the show kind of went right back to that need to watch TV, and it didn't really feel like a filler episode. I can't say the same thing, though, with the finale. I understand there's different ways of viewing this situation. This is a show. You cannot adapt everything completely one for one when compared to the video game. I didn't expect them to recreate the tunnel scene from the video game where you have to sneak past all of the enemies to get over the whole bus, and then the bus flooding. I didn't expect them to do that, and they didn't. So it's not that I was disappointed about that, but it just felt it was 44 minutes, and it just felt like it flew by. It was just like, we're starting, now it's over. They end up making it to Salt Lake City. They run into the Fireflies. They throw a flashbang at Joel and Ellie. They knock Joel out. They grab Ellie. Joel wakes up. There's Marlene. And we're at the hospital. And they also really burn through the hospital scene really quickly. Joel disarms the guards, shoots the guard, and then they do this somewhat silent montage of him just like sweeping the rooms and systematically killing all the fireflies that are in his way. And they've got like music playing, and all the sounds are more muted. You can still hear the gunfire and everything, but it's muted a lot when compared to the music. You see once again the brutality of Joel that gets hinted at in the show about all the stuff him and Tommy did to survive, and now you're seeing it on display here. And the next thing you know, he's in the operating room, he shoots the doctor and takes Ellie away, and then you basically have the ending where he lies to her. They did find a way to work around the vaccine part. In the game, they're like, oh yeah, the fungus is in her brain. We're going to remove the fungus and we're going to create a vaccine. And after the game came out, everyone's like, that's literally impossible. That's not how a fungus works. And they sort of scientifically figure out a way to try to work around it. At the beginning of the episode, Ashley Johnson actually plays Ellie's mom. And I mean, it's kind of weird. Basically, she's like running to this hideout. She's being chased by one of the runners. She barricades herself in a room, and she's like in the middle of labor. And the runner ends up biting her before she gives birth. Right after she kills the runner, she gives birth to Ellie. And it's like they try to figure out a way to explain this by saying that, because Ellie was in the womb of her mom when she got bit, that somehow allowed her to become immune because it messed up the chemicals. And so they want to synthesize this chemical that's in her body and create a vaccine. I was shaking my head the entire time. Honestly, I was. When I first started watching The Last of Us, I thought like this is going to win a bunch of awards for the Emmys next year. Now I'm not too sure. I think they could still win some awards. I definitely think it can win awards for like makeup, because I believe all the clickers that were in the show, they were all like special effect, like they weren't special like effects, they were natural like makeup. And so I can see them winning awards for like makeup and costume design or something like that. But I don't think that it's going to win for like best drama or something like that. Might get nominated. Make it maybe for like I guess it'll be a mini series. It won't be like an official drama. So maybe if it does end up as like, best mini series drama, it does have a fighting chance to win. But that depends on what else comes out this year, right? Still an excellent show though. Overall, I really enjoyed it. It really just broke that curse of video games and stuff. And I understand there are certain things that are good. I understand that Cyberpunk Edgerunners was a really good show. I understand that Castlevania was a really good show. I understand that the Tomb Raider movies with Angelina Jolie made a lot of money. The Uncharted movie that came out with Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, that ended up making a lot of money. And that was fine too, if I'm being completely honest. But this feels like one of those shows that you can tell someone like this is based off of a video game, and they're going to roll their eyes, and then they're going to watch it and they're going to say like, holy crap, I can't believe this is based off of a video game. This is insane, because of their preconceived notions of what a video game adaptation of a live action show would be. If I had to rate, oh man, I don't know what I hate rating things, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like on a number scale, I really don't like it, because I feel like it's so on the margins of like how you rate one thing over the other. I'm just going to say I recommend it. I'm going to recommend anyone watch this. You're still going to really enjoy it. Yeah, it's not a flawless show in any way. Like I mentioned, the Kansas City part does sort of drag. The show does slow down a bit in some areas, but it does work out. I'd say it does work out. There's a few references you'll get if you're a fan of the games that you're going to notice, and you're going to, you know, point at your screen and say, oh God, I know what they're setting up there. Like I said, spoiler for The Last of Us Part 2. But they kind of ask Joel, like, what do you want to do when this is over? And he's like, I want to herd sheep on a farm, which is exactly what Ellie does at the end of Part 2. So if you're watching that and you are playing the game, and you've played the game, sorry, you're going to be like, oh my God. But if you haven't, you're just going to think, whatever, until you watch season 2. That's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like more. And I will see you guys next time.